Merrick Garland sues Texas over redistricting laws that he has no standing to sue over, but we'll talk a little bit about the details and why he might believe that he does have the authority to do so. In other news, Devin Nunes is stepping down from Congress to go run a social media company for the Donald. So we'll talk a bit about what that means and what's going on with that and where that goes. Chris Cuomo is out at SiriusXM as he prepares to file a lawsuit against CNN, which he actually might have standing to do. So we'll talk a bit about what that means and where that goes. And the U.S. has officially announced that they will be planning a diplomatic boycott of the Chinese Olympics. It is going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, loyal Ed heads, and welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got a big scattershot of a bunch of different news stories to get to. We're going to get through as much as we can here, but this is another loaded up Tuesday, so prepare for some of the stuff to have to be skipped a little bit towards the end here. Plus, we will do Twitter trending over here on Contemporary Tuesday morning. It's going to be wild. By the way, apparently the Lo-Fi Christmas or what the hell am I going for? The background music that I'm using here is not copyright safe. Now, we haven't had anything taken down yet, but I noted, this morning I had to get curious and look and see that, yes, we actually are getting copyright claims, so we're ineligible for monetization over on YouTube. Quick, ask me how much I care about monetization on YouTube. When I went in there and I turned the AdSense off and I said, don't you dare run commercials on my stuff. If you want to see a commercial, go over to Twitch. And by the way, you're very, 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 very appreciated when you do. I very much appreciate it when you guys do that and go over and watch the commercial over there. But yeah, we're not giving anything over to Google. I'm not going to do this because they're the most restrictive ones. And Twitch is actually, for as hard as they've been on some of their creators, they're not as restrictive as YouTube is. And I'm not going to bend under YouTube's whim, which is why I turned the ads off to begin with, because without the ads on, I can do a lot more of what I want, and then they can't come, oh, well, we're going to demonetize you, we're going to attack your income. I get more off of Buy Me a Coffee than I get off of even Twitch subscriptions. So, I get more off Subscribestar than I get off Twitch subscriptions. Fuck your ads. But that's what we have going on over the YouTube side. And everything is still up and ready to go, and all the music stays behind it and everything else. So we're all good on that front. And on that front, we do have to remind you guys, because some of the money is going to run out at some point here, and I do want to get a different set of income coming here. Go over and check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. It's going to be a good website, a great website where we can come together and all see great creators such as the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, the Freckles with Brit Show, and the Porch Boys. We'll also have feature articles from all of the creators on the website. We'll be featuring articles from new creators, up-and-comers, people who haven't been picked up by someone else yet, and hopefully, as we grow, we can get into paid positions and we don't have to worry about other people being picked up by other outlets here. So go check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. Go bookmark that. We are working on getting funding up, ready to go for a brand new website, a brand new news experience and culture experience as well. So go and check that out. It's going to be a great time. And this week, we will have a new fundraiser up. Thank you once again for $580 and 80 US cents in getting us started from the GoFundMe. My apologies that we cannot continue to use GoFundMe because, well, I've got my morals too. So we will find a new one. We'll find a new one that agrees more with our views and won't sit there and think to ourselves, We got to shut this down and confiscate this money somehow because this person is platforming Stephen Ignoramus. We can't have that! Which is something I would believe that GoFundMe would do. That's why I don't want to use them anymore. But go check out TurnSomePagesProductions.com. All right, let's look in at your finance for the morning here. Your Dow had a fairly good up day, which I'm not surprised by, actually. We're back up above 35,000 mark. I'm not surprised by that at all because people are starting to look at this Delta variant, or this Omicron variant, rather. They're looking at this and saying, only the vaccinated are getting sick. It's a very mild sickness no matter who gets it. And I think this is starting to equalize. It's starting to look like the fact of, oh, hey, this is going to be nothing. We'll have the voluntary shots if we want them, and the people actually want them, just like the flu. But it's time to get back on with their lives, which I'm happy for. In spite of everything the Biden administration has tried to do to keep us shut down, to get us shut down and everything else like that, people are starting to wake up and realize that this is a bunch of shit. There is a disease. There is a COVID-19 disease. It is out there. I know that there are a lot of people out there that say, this never existed, this, that, the next thing. And I've been accused on Twitter numerous times. Oh, you just don't believe in COVID-19. No, I believe in it. I believe it's there. I just don't believe it's as devastating and as bad as you think that it is. But that's what we're seeing coming off the Dow. Bitcoin has also raised. Let's get a refresh on that. Bitcoin is up to 50,914.80. It almost got to 51.6 overnight, but it's dropped back down and got back down to 59.14.80. It's still looking like it's good, and those of you who bought the dip, congratulations. I did not buy the dip this time through, but those of you who did buy the dip, congratulations on the little bit of extra that you got back out of this. Your scrap metal prices for the morning. Your copper is up. Steel has had a downturn, and aluminum is coming back up right now. Looking in at your individual plays, anything with copper in it is up right now. Steel, BX steel, light iron, those are both up. Shreddable steel is up, stainless steel is up. But number one steel, cast iron, rotors, and complete car are all down on aluminum. Siding, aluminum, copper, fin radiators, and regular radiators, plus sheet aluminum are up. Cans are down, aluminum rims are down, electric motors are up, ballasts are down, lead is up, car and truck batteries are still down. Catalytic converters are all down except for your large General Motors catalytic converter. Compressors are up, alternators are up, carbide is down, and your chip plays have turned south as well. During this holiday season, hard drives are down, motherboards are still up, and power supplies are down. So, assess what you have in your scrap pile and make your decision now based on the information that I gave you. Let's see what IBD has to say, and only one finance article today because, well, Archive.today was having troubles today, so unfortunately the Wall Street Journal article that I had planned could not get archived for this, and other than that, you just have to, just pay us and then you can read it. And, homie, don't play that game. From Investors Business Daily, though, Dow Jones Futures surge as stock market correction over. What to do now? From Scott Latonin, Dow Futures surged 370 points early Tuesday after the stock market snapped back with strong gains Monday. Apple is approaching new highs, while Tesla stock found support on a critical level. On Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average moved up 1.9%, the S&P 500 rose 1.2%, while the Nasdaq rallied 0.9%, the small-cap Russell 2000 advanced 2.05%. Among the Dow Jones leaders, Apple climbed 2.15%, while Microsoft rose 1% in today's stock market. Nike remains below a buy point after Monday's modest loss. Tesla dropped 0.6% Monday after pairing sharp losses. EV peer Rivian surged 11.6%, while Lucid skidded 5.1% because they're under an SEC investigation. Chinese EV leaders Li Auto and XPeng Motors recovered a portion of Friday's heavy losses. Among the top stocks to buy and watch, Endeavor, NXP Semiconductors, and Pfizer are in or near buy zones. Recent stock market weakness suggests investors should be developing watch lists and, for the time being, avoiding making new purchases. Microsoft and Tesla are on the IBD leaderboard. NXP was spotlighted in this week's Stocks Near a Buy Zone. Endeavor is featured in last week's IPO Leaders story. On your futures, Dow futures ahead of the stock market open, Dow rose 0.1% versus fair value on the futures, while S&P 500 futures moved up 1.3% and NASDAQ futures gained 1.8%. Remember that trading in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Among exchange-traded funds, Innovator IBD 50 moved down 0.6% Tuesday. NASDAQ 100 tracker Invesco QQQ Trust gained 0.8%, and the SPDR S&P 500 ETF ascended 1.2%. A lot of stuff is moving right now, and a lot of stuff is changing. Some of what I'm seeing here, some of what I'm looking at as we're moving into changing the election laws for Texas, which thank you, Merrick Garland, for that. The taper is starting to fall out of this because it's from what I'm looking at, from what I'm seeing, it's starting to look like, especially when I look at the gas pump, down to 284. Still outrageous compared to last year, but down to 284 at this point. What I see when I look at that is an advisory panel, not necessarily the cabinet, but an advisory panel that's looked at the president or the people who are pulling the president's strings and said, look, if we don't change something about the economy, we're going to get blown the ever-loving fuck out. All of us are going to be out of a job come 2022. And it looks like some monetary policy is going to be changing because of that. Is it going to be too little too late? I think it is. That's part of the problem. I think it's going to be too little too late. But never underestimate Republicans' ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Because, and I was saying this on a Discord chat after the show last night, if they push this Supreme Court thing through and they get their way, Republicans are going to get blown out. You're going to have a 435 Democrat seat Congress. The Senate, all the seats that are up, are going to turn Democrat. That's just the reality of it. And this is not me saying that I think that abortion should stay legal. I don't think it should. But I'm looking at this, and even if this just goes down to a state level, and even if it's just the 5 states that outlaw it completely, that's not what the news media is going to tell you. And we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but the news media is going to tell you that this is the end of the world, and you might as well get your chains out and get your red robe on and tie yourself up to the stove because abortion is about to be outlawed, and the men are going to be able to impregnate you and never have to worry about anything again, and they'll be able to go free reign, and all you have to do is sit home and raise the baby. Never mind the fact that the man in that situation should be also expected to step up and raise his kid. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but if they change the monetary, even if Roe gets overturned, if the monetary policies and the lockdownerism stayed the way that it was, going all the way through 2022, and the inflation stayed the way it was going all the way through 2022, you are going to look at and see still a modest loss for the Democrats because it's the economy, stupid. That's exactly where it's at. But that's what we're seeing coming off of that. Let's get into the big news of the day. But before we even do that, I wanted to remind you that Christmas lights are now offensive. Right before we went live, I found this over on the Twitter, and I decided that you guys might want to see this here. Desert Mom, that is at Desert Mom 66, tweets out, Christmas lights are now offensive with a question mark. Minneapolis, Minnesota is the postmark. Neighbor. Redacted Coolidge Street, Northeast, St. Anthony, Minnesota, 55418. No return address. Top of the letterhead is blanked out here. I couldn't help but notice your Christmas lights display. During these unprecedented times, we have all experienced challenges, which casual words just don't describe what we're feeling. The idea of twinkling, colorful lights are a reminder of divisions that continue to run through our society, reminder of systemic biases against our neighbors who don't celebrate Christmas or who can't afford to put up lights of their own. We must do the work of educating ourselves about the harmful impact an outward-facing display like yours can have. I challenge you to respect the dignity of all people. While striving to learn from differences, ideas, and opinions of our neighbors, we must come together collectively and form different ideas, opinions of our neighbors. We must come together collectively and challenge these institutional inequities. St. Anthony is a community welcoming of all people, and we must demand better for ourselves. Now, there is no sort of justification. There's no picture of this Christmas lights display, so I don't know if it's a fully Christianized with a massive nativity on it, if it's fully Christianized, it says Jesus is King or anything else like that. All I know is they sent a letter anonymously to this home to say, hey, we don't like your Christmas lights display. So that's what we see out of that. Let's look and see what ABC News has to say, starting with the video. Just in, DOJ sues Texas alleging it violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act by creating redistricting plans that deny or abridge the rights of Latino or black voters to vote on account of their race, color, or membership in a language minority group, AG Garland says. Let's listen.
A core principle of our democracy is that, quote, voters should choose their representatives, not the other way around, close quote. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act requires that state voting laws, including laws that draw electoral maps, provide eligible voters with an equal opportunity to participate in the democratic process and elect representatives of their choosing. The complaint we filed today alleges that Texas has violated Section 2 by creating redistricting plans that deny or abridge the rights of Latino and black voters to vote on account of their race, color, or membership in a language minority group. Today, the Justice Department has filed suit against the state of Texas for violating Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. As the Supreme Court has observed, a core principle of our democracy is that, quote, voters...
So I let that play through on the beginning again for just a bit because I realized just now that I never had the desktop audio on, so you guys couldn't hear anything that's coming across my sound card here, which meant no background music, which we'll fix that now again. I could hear the background music, but you guys couldn't. We fixed that, and then we could hear Mr. Garland as well. So, reading in from ABC. DOJ sues Texas over redistricting, saying the new maps discriminate. From Luke Barr. The Justice Department is suing the state of Texas over its newly redistricted congressional and state legislature maps, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced on Tuesday. Garland said Texas violated the Voting Rights Act by drawing redistricting maps that disenfranchise African American and Latino voters. The complaint we filed today alleges that Texas has violated Section 2 by creating a redistricting plan that deny or abridge the rights of Latino or black voters to vote on account of their race, color, or membership in a language minority group. Garland said at a press conference on Monday the department's career voting law experts have assessed Texas's new redistricting plans and determined they include districts that violate the Voting Rights Act. Okay, I'm listening. It marks the third time the Biden Justice Department has sued the state, and the second time it's sued over an election-related matter. The redistricting process, in which states are legally required to draw districts with roughly the same number of residents to ensure equal representation, determines how communities are represented in Congress. This year's is the first time redistricting will take place since the Supreme Court gutted part of the Voting Rights Act addressing discriminatory maps in 2013. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, recently signed the 2021 redistricting maps into law based on the 2020 census, which gave the state 2 more congressional seats. Vanita Gupta, the Associate Attorney General, said growth in the state's minority populations was not represented in the redistricting map and that several districts were drawn with discriminatory intent. The state is also criticized for its redistricting process. Texas's 2021 redistricting plans were enacted through a rushed process with minimal opportunity for public comment, without any expert testimony, and with an overall disregard for the massive minority population growth in Texas over the last decade, Gupta said, reflecting one of the claims in the suit that blamed the compressed timeline of a special session that spanned just over a month between when it began and when redistricting legislation was signed. The congressional redistricting process was truncated because of the special session. Only 3 weeks passed between the unveiling of the initial proposal and the final passage of the conference committee map, the suit says. So I don't know Texas very well, but let's actually see what the new redistricting map looks like. Let's actually open that in a new tab. I didn't want the whole article. Oh, fuck off, New York Times. Alright, so there we see here. I'll actually drop my camera for a second. So there we see here what's currently up there, which shows a couple of lean blue areas. One really solid blue area over by the El Paso area. A couple lean red here, lean heavily red, and a lot of guaranteed red around this area, with some guaranteed blue here and here. Houston and Dallas. And what we're looking at now is we still have the guaranteed blue over here, here, just like that. Plus, they did get another lean red district, a slightly lean red district down in the southern quarter. Should go over to the other side here. My phone for the Instagram feed is in the way, so. We got another lean slightly red over here, more lean heavily red in here. But we still have all the extra, the regular blue, plus another solid blue area right here. So I don't know what we're complaining about. I really don't. This actually looks like this favors Democrats a little bit more in a state that's hard for them to win as far as districts go. Plus, keep in mind that this is a statewide race for the presidency. What this does is this better represents the people for Congress. And honestly, if I got another guaranteed isn't going to change seat, and I was a Democrat in Texas, I would be happy. But these people are never happy. I don't know what the problem is with this. I don't know where Garland has a problem with this. Except he's got to do something political because, well, he's got to come back and stick it to Texas. The suit alleges that Texas Congressional District 23 is an example of intentionally reconfiguring to eliminate a Latino electoral opportunity. The DOJ also alleges the redistricting committee did the same in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and the Harris County, which is home to Houston, one of the biggest cities in the country. The enacted congressional plan intentionally discriminates against minority voters in Dallas-Fort Worth by excising rapidly changing communities from DFW-based districts and attaching them instead through a narrow strip to several heavily Anglo counties, the suit says. According to census data included in the lawsuit, Texas's Latino population grew by almost 15%, and the African American population grew to 16% between 2010 and 2020. The lawsuit, filed in the Western District of Texas, also alleges that Texas illegally redistricted some of the districts on the state level. Texas also eliminated Latino electoral opportunities in the State House plan through manipulation or outright elimination of districts where Latino communities previously had elected their preferred candidates. In the San Antonio region and in South Texas, Texas replaced Latinos in House Districts 118 and 31 with high turnout Anglo voters, eliminating minority electoral opportunities, the lawsuit says. In El Paso in West Texas, the state eliminated a Latino opportunity district entirely, reducing the number of districts in which Latinos make up a citizen voting age population majority from 6 to 5, by overpopulating and packing majority Latino districts and underpopulating nearby majority Anglo districts. Texas plans to diminish the opportunities for Latino and black voters in Texas to elect their preferred representatives, Gupta said. In response to the DOJ's lawsuit, Texas House Democrats are highlighting the point. They argued during the redistricting process the people of the color, majority of whom are Latino, contributed to the state's population growth, but have diminished power at the ballot box under the redistricting change. The move by the DOJ also comes after Texas Democrats spent months pressuring the Biden admin to take a bigger role in protecting voting rights, as the Texas Republicans successfully revised the state voting laws over the summer. Senate Rules Committee Chairwoman Amy Klobuchar says the DOJ lawsuit in Texas underscores the need for legislative voting rights reform, which you can't do because of Article 2, Section 1. The lawsuit underscores the importance of passing the Freedom to Vote Act and to put an end to discriminatory redistricting and set basic national standards to make sure all Americans can make their voices heard in our democracy, regardless of what state, city, or zip code they live in, Klobuchar said. Klobuchar led multiple Senate Democrat efforts to pass voting reform earlier this year. All of these efforts failed at the hands of GOP filibusters. This comes as Senate Majority Leader Chuck U. Schumer, in a Dear Colleague letter earlier Monday, said the Senate intends to address voting rights before the end of the year. Texas has faced legal challenges over redistricting in every decade since Congress passed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So, this is nothing new either, by the way. This is absolutely nothing new. They do this every time. In fact, Democrats do this every time, and Republicans do this to some extent too. Every time a census occurs, while a Republican is in office, it's the same thing they always say. Oh, well, gerrymandering! Shapes like this never exist in reality. And without context on that, hold on. We want to go with Maryland. I present to you Maryland. Shapes like this never exist in reality. They never exist in nature. How can we do shapes like this? I present to you Illinois. Shapes like this never exist in nature. These are both heavily Democratic gerrymandered states. And I love how they were able to get Springfield and St. Louis Metro and Champaign, all heavy Democrat strongholds, into the same district, by the way. That was really cool. But shapes like this never exist in reality. This one is slightly better, but I present to you Massachusetts, especially around the greater Boston area, going around Quincy. So they bitch and they complain about this over and over again, telling us that these shapes never ever exist in reality. And then you look at the way that they district states that they control. The thing that pisses them off, the thing that pisses Democrats off right now, is they went on a massive campaign in 2020 and 2019, because we're going to turn Texas blue. It's going to be the bluest state in the country. Thinking that they were going to be able to take it over and then redistrict it out into their favor. Just the same way they're accusing Republicans of doing right now. And when you look at the states that they control, this is before, this is after. when you look at the states that they control, it's pure hypocrisy. Which, get that out of government officials, they do it on both sides. But yeah, that's the way redistricting works in this country. All right, that's what we see off of that. Let's talk about Devin Nunes. Donald Trump's media company has a new CEO, soon to be former Rep. Devin Nunes. Did I want to do this one first? Yes, let's do this one first. Devin Nunes says he's leaving Congress by the end of this year. From Ryan Nobles. Republican Rep. Devin Nunes of California announced Monday he'll leave the House in the coming weeks to become the CEO of the Trump Media and Technology Group. I'm writing to let you know I've decided to pursue this opportunity, and therefore I will be leaving the House of Representatives in the end of 2021, Nunes said in a letter to his constituents. Moments after this statement, the Trump Media and Technology Group released its own, saying that Nunes would be its chief executive officer. Nunes, who faced the threat of a more Democratic district through redistricting ahead of next year's midterms, is a close ally of the former president. He previously served as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee when Republicans were in the majority, during which he led efforts among Trump's allies to discredit the FBI's Russia investigation and special counsel Robert Mueller's probe. Nunes was also an outspoken defender of President Trump during his first impeachment, and the then president awarded Nunes the Medal of Freedom in January. Trump praised Nunes in the media group statement, calling him a fighter and a leader. He'll make an excellent CEO of TMTG, Trump said. Nunes' role as an attack dog against the Russia probe raised his popularity among Trump's supporters, and he became the top fundraiser in the House GOP conference as he gained stature on the right. Elise Stefanik, the House GOP conference chair and third-ranking House Republican, congratulated Nunes, tweeted, "Devin had a spine of steel and an unyielding commitment to fighting for the truth of the Constitution, and as chairman of the Republican leader of the House Intelligence Committee, America is forever grateful." And yes, the beans have been spilled. According to The Verge, Trump's media company has a new CEO, soon to be former Rep. Devin Nunes. From Richard Lawler. A filing just revealed in an SEC investigation into the plans for a special purpose acquisition company named Digital World Acquisition Group to merge with Trump Media and Technology Group and start trading on the NASDAQ. So what's next for the would-be social media regular giant? Naturally, TMTG has just announced a splashy new hire as its CEO, recruiting Congressman Devin G. Nunes, a supporter and defender of Trump. Nunes served on the House Intelligence Committee as it investigated allegations Russia helped the Trump campaign during the 2016 election. Yes, it's also, I sued Twitter for letting Devin Nunes' mom and Devin Nunes' cow insult me. Devin G. Nunes. The congressman plans to leave the U.S. House of Representatives, where redistricting may have made his current seat tough to hold on to, and take the new role in January. In a statement, the man named in a lawsuit, claiming this cow account caused him extreme pain and suffering, says, "The time has come to reopen the internet and allow for the free flow of ideas and expression without censorship." As CEO of TMTG, he would be in charge of the upcoming social media platform, Truth Social, hoping to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Zuckerberg and Parag Agrawal of Twitter. Nunes will also run the streaming platform TMTG Plus, which the company says is a subscription-based video service full of non-woke entertainment, news documentaries, podcasts, and more. According to TMTG chairman Donald Trump, "Congressman Nunes is a fighter and a leader. He will make an excellent CEO of TMTG. Devin understands that we must stop the liberal media and big tech. They're the worst, okay? The absolute worst. They're the worst. From destroying the freedoms that make America great again. America is ready for truth, social, and the end of censorship and political discrimination." In October, Truth Social was cited by Mastodon for reusing the project's open source code without including the required notifications and publishing whatever tweaks it made so the community could benefit. Since then, PC Mag pointed out that Truth Social has acknowledged its open source roots and posted some code. However, the package available doesn't appear to include any of the proprietary code operators said the site will use. Well, if it's my understanding of this, it doesn't have to include any of the proprietary code, because they own that. While announcing the merger between DWAC and TMTG, the companies indicated Truth Social would have a beta launch for invited guests in November. Beta! So, we will see what happens with that. I guarantee it's going to be a lot of boomer tech. There's going to be a lot of people there that have been kicked off of Twitter. And you'll have your agent provocateurs making sure that people are saying the 14 words or trying to teach people what the 14 words are. What else do we have here? A local story from North Augusta, South Carolina, from 12 CBS and 26 NBC. Local document leader reality winner tells her side on 60 Minutes. Let's have a little bit of a listen to that.
I'm not a traitor.
How did this Air Force vet end up spending 4 years behind bars? It's one of the most controversial cases of espionage 60 Minutes has ever covered.
You knew it was stamped top secret. You knew what that meant.
Her first television interview on 60 Minutes. New Sunday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
So, from this, actually, let's take their video here. Let's see what they have to say. And then we'll look over the article in just a second.
In 2017 for alleged espionage against the United States. She was sentenced to over 5 years in prison for leaking documents from the National Security Agency. Well, at the time, Winter's sentence was the longest ever given to someone accused of leaking classified documents to the media. She was released back in June. Now Winter is telling her side of the story. Our digital reporter, Tyra Goings, joins us now live in the studio. Tyra, can you give us more insight on Reality Winter's story and what she is telling the press now?
We learned a lot about Reality Winner, even that her father named her that because he wanted her to be a real winner. And she was living in Augusta in 2017, and it was during a search of her home that federal agents found the evidence that led to her arrest. But under her plea agreement, she still isn't allowed to talk about the document she allegedly leaked or any information of top secret work she did in the past. In the interview, we heard her say that she felt the American people were being misled about her, and she argued, quote, she acted out of love for what the country stood for.
I've had 4 years of just trying to say I'm not a terrorist. I can't even begin to talk about my actual espionage indictment or have a sense of accomplishment in having survived prison because I'm still stained by them accusing me of being the same groups that I enlisted in the Air Force to fight against. So I don't let myself feel anything regarding the actual act or the charge until I can let it be known that I'm not what they said I was.
Was it worth it?
I try so hard not to frame things as being worth it or not worth it. What I know is that I'm home with my parents, and we take our lives every day moving forward as being richer in knowing what to be grateful for.
All right, and there is that. So, let's read into the article and see what they have to say. Looks like it's a lot of what they just said off this. Reality Winner is a name that turned heads when Air Force vet made headlines in 2017 for alleged espionage against the United States. She was sentenced to over 5 years for leaking documents from the NSA. At the time, Winner's sentence was the longest ever given to a civilian accused of leaking classified documents to the media. She was released back in June and started her supervised release last month, which is less restrictive, but still, she's not able to leave the federal judicial district or stay out past 10 p.m. So I looked into this because I needed to be reminded of which whistleblower this was. I at the time that this was all happening, I was complete anti-whistleblower. I've since learned a little bit more about what's going on with this and taken a softer stance on whistleblowers themselves. Now, Chelsea Manning, I still have a strong disdain for with the whistleblowing that she did. I have a strong disdain for Chelsea Manning because the documents that Manning released did include tactical information about what was going on in the Middle East. Basically, she could have got people killed. with the documents that she released. But with Reality Winner, it's different because she was releasing documents that had to do with the 2016 election interference, the national security for there. There wasn't any top secret, there weren't any espionage agents, anything else that could have been in directed crossfire if their names got leaked or their identities got leaked or their operations got leaked. I think the government needs a lot more transparency, but I'm also not about going out and getting people killed. If it can be helped. In fact, I'm in the camp that the only things that should be on a top secret level is counter-espionage, counterterrorism, or espionage into other countries where people could get killed at the time. Those are the only things that should be eyes only for whatever reason. Everything else should be wide open. This was supposed to be a government for the people, by the people. But it's not that anymore, especially with all the top secret and all the classified information that we have in there. But that's what they say off of that. That's the full interview is up here, but we're not going to do that because that's a quite lengthy interview that they had. Let's grab another one here from CBS. I'm not a traitor, Reality Winner explains why she leaked a classified document. From Scott Pelley. A story about someone named Reality Winner has to start with a name. Her father, playing on the family name, explained that he wanted a real winner, and so Reality. Maybe that still didn't make sense, but at least it's the least baffling part of the story. Reality Winner became an infamous name in 2017. When she was accused of espionage, she was hit with the longest sentence ever imposed on a civilian for leaking classified information. To the news media. Now released, she spoke with us. Did Reality Winner do exceptionally grave damage, as the prosecutor said, or did she reveal a truth that defended America? It's complicated, like the young woman with the unforgettable name. We met 30-year-old Reality Winner at home in Texas after 4 years behind bars. Espionage seems surprising for a woman who joined the Air Force at 19 and won the Air Force Commendation Medal in 2016 for 600 enemies killed in action. She did that as a linguist in combat unit fighting secret missions. How many languages do you speak? Reality Winner. Farsi, Dari, and Pashto. Scott Pelley. These are the languages of Afghanistan and Iran. Yes. But her duty station was 7,000 miles away from those countries at Fort Meade, Maryland. Why are you at Fort Meade? I'm not. Am I allowed to say that? Lawyer off camera. Nope. That's the voice of her lawyer, who helped her steer clear of secrets in her interviews. Winner wouldn't say it, but at Fort Meade, linguists eavesdropped on communications in Afghanistan to identify targets for armed drones. It's not something I'm allowed to discuss, she says. She didn't discuss her mission with her mother, Billy Winner Davis. Billy Winner Davis, only one conversation that I had with her, did she ever let on how heavy her work was? I'll never forget because she said, you know, when you're watching someone on your screen and that person goes poof, you've got to make sure you've got everything right. Reality says, I was starting to see in the news that her mission had a very high civilian casualty rating. She began to feel guilt while battling illness, depression. From the eating disorder bulimia, she left the Air Force for a top-secret civilian job as the National Security Agent at Fort Gordon in Augusta. But there, in 2017, she says what she was hearing in English worried her far more than the intercepts at Farsi and Pashto. President Trump, if you don't catch a hacker, okay, in the act, it's very hard to say who did the hacking. The president was raising doubt that Russia attacked the 2016 election. His interview with John Dickerson was typical of the time. But it was Russia and the NSA knew it. Reality Winner had seen proof in a top-secret report in an in-house newsfeed. I just kept thinking, oh my god, someone needs to step forward and put this right. Somebody. The secret report said in 2016 the Russian military executed cyber espionage against 122 local government organizations, targeting officials involved in the management of voter registration systems. It was top secret, in part because it revealed what the U.S. knew about Russian tactics. Winner told us she was exposing a White House cover-up. She printed the top report, dropped it in its mailbox, addressed anonymously to an online news source that specialized in government wrongdoing. The NSA report was published a month later. You knew it was stamped top secret. You knew what it meant. I knew that. I knew it was a secret, but I also knew that I'd pledged a service to the American people, and at that point in time, it felt like they were being led astray. Winner was caught as soon as the top-secret report surfaced. The NSA could see on its network that she printed it. She drove home to a new reality. So, coming on with that and looking at what was going on with that, once again, more openness from the government, and we won't need to have these things. I think Reality Winner should be free. But that's where we go off of that. Reality Winners, 60 Minutes interview sparks calls for Joe Biden to pardon, from Gerard Kaunga. President Joe Biden has been urged to pardon former National Security Advisor, translator Reality Winner, following her 60 Minutes interview. Winner was convicted for 5 years and 3 months at the Federal Medical Center, Carswell, a federal prison in Fort Worth, in 2018 for releasing information to the media regarding Russian interference in the 2016 election. This is the longest sentence a U.S. citizen has received for the crime of leaking classified information to the press. Winner was 25 at the time of sentencing. Winner was released from prison earlier this year. She has now spoke on 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley insisted she's not a traitor. She said she only acted out of love for what the U.S. stands for when she leaked documents that show the Russian military executed cyber espionage in 2016 against 122 local government organizations. Winner was arrested in 2017. She eventually pleaded guilty to releasing unauthorized government documents to the press. Discussing why she did it, Winner said, "I knew it was top secret. I knew that, but I also knew that I had pledged the service to the American people." At this point in time, it felt like they were being led astray. During her trial, Winner was not allowed to go into specific details of the leak. During her interview, she highlighted what she would have said to the judge if she was able to. "I would have told the judge the truth, or that I thought this was the truth, but I also did not betray our sources and methods. I did not cause damage. I did not put lives on the line. I only filled a question mark that was tearing our country in half in May of 2017. I meant no harm." And this idiot, if you can... No, he's got a soy voice, doesn't he? "If you can't pardon a patriot like Reality Winner, then nobody deserves a pardon. Please, POTUS, pardon her." Which he's only involved in this because this showed that Russia tried to help Trump. Oh my God! If this would have been something showing that Russia was clean and clear, he would be calling for her to be put in prison for life. Mia Farrow the same way. "Reality Winner should never have been in prison. She is a courageous American patriot. Thank you!" And all these leftoids are doing this because this supposedly, which it didn't, by the way, supposedly showed that the Trump administration was in on it the whole time. They weren't. It was Russia. That's the only reason these people are in on this. That's the only reason these people care about this. But that's what we're seeing coming off of that. Let's talk Cuomo. Christopher Cuomo puts out a letter. "The way my time ended at CNN was hard. While I have a thick skin, I also have a family for whom the past week has been extraordinarily difficult. So right now, I have to take a step back and focus on what comes next. That means I will no longer be doing my Sirius XM radio show." That's translation for he got his ass fucking canned. "I'm extremely grateful for the support I've received from Sirius XM throughout my time there. And I also want to express my sincere appreciation for my loyal listeners. But I will miss our conversations a great deal, but I look forward to being back in touch with you all in the future." Which means he's going to start a self-published podcast. Reading from the Daily Wire, Chris Cuomo out at Sirius XM Radio. From Ben Johnson. Former CNN host Chris Cuomo is now a former CNN Sirius XM radio host, announcing on Monday that he's leaving his syndicated radio show just days after CNN fired him for abusing his positions as a journalist to defend his brother from sexual harassment allegations while facing sexual harassment allegations of his own. Speculation swirled as former ABC News anchor Brian Ross guest hosted Monday's episode of the radio program Let's Get After It with Chris Cuomo. Cuomo announced his exit from the network on Monday afternoon via Twitter. And we read that letter. The statement did not immediately specify whether leaving the radio show had been his decision or the network's. One commenter referred to his statements as the old "I'm being fired, but they're allowing me to make it look like a resignation apology." And that's the letter. Sirius announced shortly after Cuomo's announcement that his show will come to an end effective immediately. Following Cuomo's statement that he is leaving SiriusXM's show, Let's Get After It will no longer air, we thank Chris for his work at SiriusXM, the network stated curtly. The host parting ways with the satellite radio network comes just 2 days after CNN announced it was firing Chris Cuomo, formerly their top-rated host, over newly released information from New York AG Letitia James showed he played a slightly larger role in helping his brother, then Governor Cuomo, ward off multiple claims of sexual harassment. The document showed that Chris Cuomo used his connections to ask about details of the forthcoming news stories about the controversy, which he would then forward to his brother. The network also weighed the allegations made by lawyer Deborah S. Katz, who said she represented a woman who claims Chris sexually harassed her. At ABC, CNN claimed in a statement that in the process of the review of these documents, additional information has come to light. Now, I highlight this and I talk about this because going back and looking through this particular one once again, we've got Jessica Green that says, sacrifice on the altar you help to build and maintain, and me saying, so serious can you? And we see a lot of people floating up to the top that are saying good riddance, enemy of the people on air, the less you talk, the better, get lost, dipshit. But we also have the people like Catherine Marcelletto. Cannot wait to see what will be next for you and how you'll be back in our view again to enlighten us with your acknowledgement and wisdom. May God bless you and your family. And a number of people in here just simping for both the Cuomos. Not even just Chris, but Andrew as well. I saw one while I was in here looking at this saying, oh, well, Andy Cuomo's COVID updates saved me. They saved my family. I don't know what we could have done without the COVID updates. Thank you. And thank you for defending your brother. He was amazing. He was a wonderful person. And just all the simping that was going on in these comments. Nildo E.F. David, you did what you thought was the right thing. No one can judge your actions. And all these ones that are simping are fucking botted too. And me, Moderate Minx, Railroad at your peril. I hope they didn't make you, and this was your decision. This is horrible, and I don't understand what's going on. I just listened to Dan Abrams, and so many callers were supporting you. Godspeed to you and your family, and happy birthday to your brother. None of us deserves this. So that's what they have off that. But on top of that, Chris is prepping to sue CNN for more than $18 million over contract. Sources. From Emily Smith and Bruce Golding. Fired CNN host Chris Cuomo is set to sue the network if it balks at paying him at least $18 million to cover what's left on his contract. Sources told the Post on Monday. Wow, I can't talk today. Cuomo has hired lawyers and is representing to file the lawsuit over the remainder of the 4-year contract he signed last year after a bitter back and forth about what the network knew of his secret efforts to aid his embattled brother, then Governor Andy Cuomo, said sources familiar with the matter. His contract was reportedly worth $6 million annually, leaving him between $18 and $20 million that he would be owed, sources said, adding that Chris would likely also seek damages. But CNN has no intention of paying Chris Cuomo a penny, an insider said. If he gets a settlement, there will be an uproar, the source added. Another source said CNN has a standard morality clause in their contract that says if the employee does anything of disrepute, they can immediately be fired. So I'd like to see what the actual clause is for that, because another discussion that I was in last night brought that up. Because he's suing, he actually probably does have standing. Because, yes, they promised him 4 years at $6 million a year, which is outrageous for the lack of talent that the dude has, but regardless, we're sitting here and there's the standing there, but if there is that clause in there, or if they have a clause that prevents him from being held onto and paid out if he commits a crime or commits, like they said, an act of disrepute, then yeah, he's probably fucked at this point. And he'll probably have to go and get a job working over at Subway. But he's trying to sue. All right, what else do we have? Let's listen to de Blasio. There's one. I'll show you guys how much I like you. We'll listen to Mayor de Blasio.
Mandates, and the fact that this is universal, and this would be my advice to mayors, governors, CEOs all over the country, use these vaccine mandates, and the more universal they are, the more likely employees will say, okay, it's time, I'm going to do this, because you can't jump from one industry to another or one company to another. It's something that needs to be universal to protect all of us. The fact that this is universal, and this would be my advice to mayors, governors.
So, looking at this, reading into this and what he's saying, I will give him some credit for what he has to say here, because this is exactly the opposite of what the Biden vaccine mandates are. I'm going to arbitrarily say that if your company has less than 100 people, then you don't have to abide by the vaccine mandate, man. Come on, just take the vaccine anyway, but you don't have to do it if your company has less than 100 people. And it's only going to be in certain industries after I got slapped down again, and then it's going to be an arbitrary date in January that this has got to be done for, because we can't let people get fired during the Christmas season. Come on, man. What de Blasio is saying is still wrong, but it's consistent at least. Universal. Everybody has to get it, because I believe that this is protecting people and not I'm getting paid off for Pfizer, BioNTech, and Johnson & Johnson and Moderna and all these people to go and run for governor. And yes, by the way, he's running for governor on top of this. So that's what he has to say. Let's move on and talk about what he had to say here. The best news I've got all day. CBS will let me read the article, but won't let me play the video because I have an ad blocker on. New York City announces first in the nation vaccine mandate for private companies. From Marcia Kramer. Dude, get out of New York City. Get out. Why? Why do you still want to be there, people? Mayor de Blasio announced what he called the first in the nation vaccine mandate for private companies on Monday. He said the combination of the Omicron variant, which is only detected in people with the vaccine, by the way, and holiday gatherings forced him to take bold steps. He's giving businesses just 3 weeks to make sure their workers are vaccinated. We in New York City have decided to use the preemptive strike to really do something bold to stop the further growth of COVID and the dangers it's causing to all of us, he said in an interview on MSDNC. De Blasio said the city will release the specific rules December 15th before the mandate takes effect on December 27th. He said it will apply to in-person employees, but would not provide any details about the enforcement. He also said there will not be a weekly testing option. Vaccines work and vaccine mandates work, particularly when joined with efforts to build vaccine confidence, provide incentives, and improve access, as we have in New York City, said Health Commissioner Dave Chokshi. We've seen this with our healthcare workers, our school staff, and public employees. Now it's time for the private sector to step up and follow suit. Do we get more of this interview if we do this one, or is it just the 15 seconds we did before?
Breaking news. Mayor de Blasio is giving an update on the coronavirus pandemic.
No, that's an hour interview. We're not going to do that. Fuck that. New York City previously imposed a vaccine mandate for city workers, but this will be the first of its kind for the private sector, impacting 184,000 businesses. So far, 94% of municipal employees have gotten their shots, officials said. This would be my advice to mayors, governors, CEOs all over the country. Use these vaccine mandates, de Blasio said. The more universal they are, the more likely employees will say, okay, it's time. I'm going to do this, because you can't jump from one industry to another or one company to another. It's something that needs to be universal to protect all of us. Some are raising questions about whether it will slow the return to Manhattan's central business district, which is crucial to the city economy. In the Bronx, with 15% unemployment, 28% of residents no longer are able to work on December 27th, including 44% of black young adults as a result of de Blasio's vaccine mandate for the private sector. Staten Island Councilman, the incoming Republican Minority Leader, Joe Borelli, tweeted. CBS 2's Marsha Kramer asked de Blasio if he thinks the mandates will mean fewer workers will give up telecommuting or return to offices. I think you're going to see a lot of people embrace it. You're going to see a lot of people make the decision that it's time to get vaccinated, he replied. I really think we're going to see this actually help, ultimately. Quick, someone in the banking industry. Follow the money, says Ron Helton. Yeah, and this is... Good luck. Good luck. That's all I have to say. If you really want people to move out of New York City and lose another congressional district in New York, this is the way to do it. All right, let's see what else we have going on here. More on the shortages. From KSTP5 out of Minneapolis, Minnesota to train and deploy 1,000 new certified nursing assistants for long-term care. From Josh Skluzizek, Minnesota is launching a new initiative to recruit, train, and deploy at least 1,000 new certified nursing assistants for long-term facilities. Governor Walz's office announced a plan Monday saying the nursing assistants will be deployed to facilities experiencing staffing shortages by the end of next month. The effort is a partnership between state, colleges, and long-term care providers, according to Walz's office, and will replicate a program currently used by 16 Minnesota state colleges that are training 400 Minnesota National Guard members for deployment as emergency temporary nursing assistants. The cost of expenses for the certified nursing assistant courses, including tuition, fees, and materials, will be paid for with $3.5 million in federal American Rescue Plan funding, Walz's office said, ensuring there isn't any cost for the students. Our long-term care facilities are relying on a new generation of certified nursing assistants to provide quality care to their patients. By working with communities, colleges, and care providers around Minnesota, we will recruit and train these new CNAs and ensure that we have the staff we need in long-term care. Walz said in a statement, our goal is to train 1,000 CNAs in 2 months to bolster staffing and provide necessary care to Minnesota patients during the Pinko fucking pox response. But not only that, through this training program, we can help maintain a stable long-term care workforce for years to come. You know what else you could do? At some point here, you could stop with the vaccine mandates, and then a lot of this problem will solve itself. The problem that you're facing right now as a government is caused by government! As are a lot of the problems in this country. I wonder how the people who pay taxes in Minnesota are going to react to the fact that they're just paying for 3.5... Well, hey, this isn't even just from Minnesota. This is from all of us, because this is coming from the federal government into Minnesota. We're going to pay for the textbooks, the tuition, and everything else to get more people into here, because we need the people. We need these people. $3.5 million and federal aid support to come and do this. You know, you had a lot of people doing this already, and you turned them away because of stupid vaccine mandates or lockdowns or shutdowns, or the unemployment making that, well, much more worthwhile for them to stay out of the workforce. And now you're sitting here wondering why you're having problems. All right. We're going to talk Maxwell for just a moment here, but I have got to step up because I might have a cold or something or other here, but the nose is running again. But let's listen to what CNN has to say on this.
Well, what do we know about some of the witnesses prosecutors are expected to call? I mean, that defense argument isn't completely off base. There are a lot of men, deviants, predators, pedophiles, who have not been charged with anything.
Yeah, that's right. We're supposed to hear from 4 of these alleged accusers who are going to detail how they met up with Ghislaine Maxwell, what was their interactions with them, what they they did when they spent time with her. And then also, of course, I'm sure we'll learn about what did happen behind those closed doors in all those houses with Jeffrey Epstein. And yeah, the defense is trying to say that Ghislaine Maxwell, was a victim herself. So we'll be hearing on right now the prosecution from these women, but also their family members, how it affected them, these years of alleged abuse, and also members of the staff who the government says knew very well what was going on and were told to be quiet about it. Look away, don't say anything, don't talk about it, according to Ghislaine Maxwell giving these instructions. So again, we are expected to hear a lot, not only about Ghislaine Maxwell's involvement, but more about these alleged occurrences that were happening behind closed doors at the hand of Jeffrey Epstein as well.
From a diagnostic point of view, Omicron's not a problem.
Wrong camera. Wrong microphone. From a diagnostic point of view, Omicron's not a problem. You heard it first, CNN. Let's read what they had to say here. Ghislaine Maxwell says Epstein needed to have sex 3 times a day. Woman testifies. From Lauren DeValle and Eric Levinson. A woman who has accused Jeffrey Epstein of sexual abuse testified Monday that Ghislaine Maxwell set up their meetings and spoke often about sexual topics, including Epstein's carnal needs. She said that he needed to have sex about 3 times a day, the woman told the court. The woman, testifying under the pseudonym Kate, took the stand on Monday to start the second week of Maxwell's federal trial on charges including sex trafficking of minors. Kate is not considered a minor victim in the charges because she was over the age of consent at the time of the alleged abuse, but jurors were still allowed to consider her testimony, Judge Allison Nathan ruled. Kate testified she first met Maxwell when she was 17 through her older boyfriend while on a trip to Paris. Maxwell invited her for tea at her London townhome a few weeks later and told Kate about her philanthropist boyfriend Epstein, who Maxwell thought would help Kate with her aspiring music career. I understood that her job was to take care of Jeffrey's needs, Kate said. I left there feeling exhilarated, she said, like someone wanted me. Weeks later, Maxwell invited Kate to the townhome again to meet Epstein, pushing her to accept the invitation with a sense of urgency. There, Maxwell told her to give Epstein's foot a little squeeze to show him how strong she was. Despite her small frame, Kate testified Epstein approved of the foot massage and also had her massage his shoulders. A couple weeks later, Maxwell called Kate to ask whether she would do her a favor and come give Epstein a massage with her strong hands. Despite having no massage therapy experience, Maxwell led Kate upstairs in her townhome to a bedroom where Epstein stood in a robe, gave Kate the massage oil, and closed the door behind her. Kate testified Epstein disrobed and initiated a sex act with her. Shortly after the incident, Maxwell called her back to the house and told her it's hard to keep up with his needs. Kate testified. She said, I'm glad you're here. You did such a good job last time that he wanted you to come back, Kate said. This time, Epstein was standing fully naked when Maxwell brought her to the same room and closed the door behind her. Have a good time, she recalled Maxwell saying as she left the room. Maxwell also asked her whether she'd had fun after both sexualized massage encounters, Kate said. Maxwell's trial, which began last week, has alternated between harrowing testimony from minor victims and illuminating testimony about some of Epstein's connections to high-profile figures such as Trump, Clinton, and Prince Andrew. None are alleged to have committed wrongdoing in relation to the ongoing trial. Indeed, Kate testified Monday that Maxwell would talk about her friends Prince Andrew and Trump around her. Epstein, who pleaded guilty in 2008 to state prostitution charges, was indicted on federal sex trafficking charges in July of 2019, but died by suicide in prison a month later. Maxwell, Epstein's confidant, was arrested a year afterwards and has pleaded not guilty. In opening statements of her trial, prosecutors said Maxwell and Epstein created a pyramid scheme of abuse to lure underage girls into sexual relationships with Epstein. Her defense, meanwhile, she said she was a scapegoat for Epstein's actions and attacked the memories and motivations of the women who said they were sexually abused. So, we see what's going on with this. We see where this is going, what is happening with this, and what's on with this. A lot of what we're seeing still, and I mentioned this last night when I was talking with Paul, was a lot of this is he said, she said. And I don't know that Maxwell is actually going to have anything come out of this by the end of it, because there is some evidence, and we'll talk about this in just a second, but a lot of what we've seen on the testimony so far is just he said, she said. And I didn't really need to know that a math teacher from New York needed to have sex 3 times a day, but it does come to the idea of why these people are coming in here and why this is becoming an issue. Reading from Fox News, Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Epstein kept CDs with nude photos cataloged with police-style evidence tape. Okay, can we see the CDs? Are they there? Can we talk about those? Can those be admitted to evidence? Can the jury be allowed to see those?
The parents of the 15...
Oh, shut up, you. Michigan school officials could... Why did that flip? I have no idea.
Let's restart that.
The FBI found a trove of photos of nude women and girls at Epstein's New York City townhouse when they performed search warrants following the financier's arrest on sex trafficking charges in 2019. In a closet on one of the floors of the 7-story residence, the agents found boxes with CDs that contained some of the photographs with police-like yellow evidence tape on them. A special agent with the FBI testified at Maxwell's trial. In another room, in a closet, the FBI found numerous black binders with white labels. Special Agent Kelly McGuire said the binders had clear pages containing thumbnail photos with CDs attached. The witness told the tale of how the FBI searched Epstein's $77 million home. To the jurors, the agents buzzed, but after no answer, they forced their entry into the residence and started performing a protective sweep to make sure there was no threat to them. On the 3rd floor, in a dressing room, they found a safe that they pulled out from a closet and brought it in and saw to open it. There were several items in it that the FBI photographed, such as binders with CDs, various items of jewelry, external hard drives, loose diamonds, large amounts of U.S. currency, and passports. However, they needed a second search warrant in order to retrieve those items. So they returned a few days later, except that the items had been removed from the safe and were missing. An attorney for Epstein then returned all the items to the agents. Earlier this Monday, jurors listened to the testimony of Kate, a British musician. She was originally a minor victim of 3 of the indictment, but was now allowed to testify only as a witness. This morning, Judge Allison Nathan sided with the defense as she considered that Kate was of the age of consent when and where the alleged incidents happened. Kate alleges that she was groomed by Maxwell and sexually abused by Epstein in London when she was 17 years old. The witness spent a little over an hour under direct examination. The defense tried to discredit the witness through her story of abuse of drugs, sleeping pills, and alcohol. During the redirect, Assistant U.S. Attorney Laura Pomeratz asked the witness if she recalled the first time she'd seen Epstein naked. Kate closed her eyes briefly, took a moment, trying not to cry. "Do you remember who was there?" Pomeratz continued. "Ghislaine Maxwell," she answered, adding that the reason she remembered that day was because those events come back to me all the time. I have nightmares about them. After complaining with the UN, Maxwell's family have now sent a letter to AG Garland, who oversees the U.S. Marshals and the Bureau of Prisons, asking them to improve the treatment she's receiving during her trial. They are asking the Marshals stop using 4-point restraints to shackle her hands, waist, and feet when she is moved from holding cell to courtroom. You really have to ask yourself, in 2021, what on earth are they doing shackling a 59-year-old woman in this way every day who represents absolutely no threat to the community? Her brother Kevin Maxwell told reporters as he was leaving the courthouse. Well, they want to make sure that she doesn't off herself. But that's where we go off that. And I mean, it is a little bit interesting to see and watch where this goes and what's happening with this. Again, a lot of just he said, she said. If we have this, the images on the CDs, which I'm sure that once the lawyers got their hands on those, the ones that had minors in them suddenly mysteriously disappeared, but, you know, that's what happens when you go between search warrant to search warrant. I don't know why they didn't have a broad sweeping one either, if this is such a big deal to the FBI. Unless they were giving an opportunity to go and clean this up, so, you know, the powerful people in government didn't come down on the FBI and start rolling heads. I don't know. But that's what we have off that. From the New York Post, Ghislaine Maxwell asked teen to recruit others for oral sex, according to witness. From Ben Feuerhard and Tamir Lapine. A former British model took the stand Monday to detail how she was allegedly lured into Epstein's orbit by Ghislaine Maxwell at 17 and asked her to recruit other girls to give him oral sex. The woman, identified only as Kate for privacy reasons, testified that the British socialite introduced her to Epstein at Maxwell's London townhouse in the early 90s and convinced her to give him a sexual massage soon after. Maxwell even tried to get Kate to recruit others to give the late pedophile oral sex, telling her he liked cute young pretty girls like you. She would ask me if I knew anybody to come and give Jeffrey a blowjob because it was a lot for her to do, recalled Kate, who was also a former actress. The witness, now 44, said the duo promised to help her with budding music career and bragged about the powerful people they knew, including Prince Andrew and Donald Trump. Yes, I'm sure a lot of these news outlets are getting out there to try to put Donald Trump's name into this. I'm sure that's not going to come out in campaign ads. The publishing eras seemed to know everybody, Kate told the court. She was friends with Andrew, friends with Trump, and sometimes the names would just come up or she would be talking on the phone about them with me present, the witness said. Corroborating what Jane also said earlier in this. On one occasion, Kate said she was made to wear a schoolgirl outfit to have sex with Epstein at his Palm Beach, Florida mansion. I never understood that infatuation. I really never did. The testimony came on the same day the jury saw bank statements that showed some $30 million transferred from Epstein's accounts to Maxwell's between 1999 and 07, including about $7 million used to buy a helicopter. Kate, who says she works with the women who suffered from trauma or substance abuse, testified that she only cut off contact with the late sex offender in her early 30s after she became a mother. Before the witnesses took the stand, Allison Nathan instructed jurors that Kate was not a victim of the crimes charged in the indictment against Maxwell, since she was above the age of consent when she met Maxwell and Epstein. Because of her age, persecutors were not allowed to ask Kate about the details of the sexual conduct between her and her wealthy pedophile. Still, the soft-spoken blonde, who wore her hair pulled back in a bun, described how she was led by Maxwell to give Epstein sexualized massages at the accused madam's London apartment when she was 17. One of the first times Maxwell allegedly told the teen to have a good time after she opened the massage room door to reveal a naked Epstein. I wonder who this is, especially with the privacy and the names being redacted off of this. I wonder if this is like a British actress that we know who it is. Looks like Rudolph is getting a little bit feisty over here too. But that's what we see off that. Last one, Silence No More, one woman's allegations of abuse by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. There's no such thing as a perfect victim, said Sarah Ransom. What's the perfect victim? A middle-class white girl who goes to a private school that has the perfect family life. Sarah Ransom says the so-called perfect female victim is pure, innocent, and doesn't exist. Those who don't fit the bill, including women like herself, with a history of drug use and sex work, are often blamed for their own abuse. It's the victim shamers and the victim blamers. They're the reason that I wrote the book, she told correspondent Holly Williams. Ransom's new book, Silence No More, Surviving My Journey to Hell and Back, details her allegations of sexual abuse against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. But it begins with a chaotic childhood in her native South Africa, a mother who, Ransom said, struggled with addiction and rape in her childhood by a stranger that disabled her alarm system. I grew up with my family, with people hurting me, strangers hurting me, and so it became my fault. There's something wrong with me, she said, and it's taken me about 37 years old to finally get an ounce of self-respect and self-worth back, and that was taken from me. Williams asked, you write about your traumatic experiences with childhood, almost priming you to be victimized in your adulthood. Can you explain how that works? I think being a victim, a survivor of sex abuse, it robs you of your self-worth and dignity, Ransom replied. She said she met Epstein when she was 22, introduced by a young woman she encountered at a New York nightclub, who she later discovered was paid to recruit her. Ransom flew to Epstein's private island, Little St. James, thinking she was going on vacation. She writes, "It sounded so amazing, and then boof. You're on the island, and that's it. Lock and key, there's no escape. There's no one to hear your screams and cries." It was there she first met Maxwell and alleges she was repeatedly raped by Epstein. "It was made very clear to me that first trip that if I ever went to authorities, if I told my parents, if I told my friends, if I ever left, Jeffrey said to me, 'I will kill you. I will hunt your mother and father down, and I will kill them.'" "You were terrified?" asked Williams. "Yeah, of course I was." "And you're frozen?" "I was frozen. I was petrified." Now living in a small village in England, Ransom said her book is an attempt to make sense of what kept her in thrall to Epstein and Maxwell for 9 months, and why she returned to the island on several more occasions. She concludes that she was a victim of coercive control, an easy target for exploitation, using financial despair and fear. So a lot of stuff moving and shaking with that, and a lot of stuff going on with that. I'm probably not going to read the book, but that's what the cover looks like. I'm sure it's going to be available on all different kinds of outlets. So if you guys want to pick it up, Sarah Ransom would probably love your money. All right, let's talk about the Supreme Court. Amy Coney Barrett raises adoption and abortion case hearing that poses challenge to Roe v. Wade. From Kate Kindleman, this will be the second time she's done so. When the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments Wednesday over a Mississippi law that would ban most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, a headline-making line of questioning came from the court's newest justice, Amy Coney Barrett. Barrett, a conservative justice appointed last year by former President Trump, questioned whether adoption rather than abortion could resolve the burdens of parenting noted in Roe v. Wade and Casey v. Planned Parenthood, the two major Supreme Court rulings on abortion that protect a woman's right to end pregnancy before fetal viability. Since Roe v. Wade was decided on 1973, the Supreme Court has never allowed states to prohibit the termination of pregnancies prior to fetal viability outside the womb, roughly 24 weeks according to medical experts. During Wednesday's argument, Barrett, a mom of 7 with 2 adopted children, questioned Julie Reichelman, a Center for Reproductive Rights attorney arguing against Mississippi's 15-week ban, about safe haven laws which also protect parents from criminal prosecution if they leave unwanted infants in designated places like hospitals. All 50 states, the D.C., and Puerto Rico have enacted safe haven legislation, but rules and regulations vary by state, according to the Department of Health and Human Services Children's Bureau. Insofar as you and many of your amici focus on the ways which forced parenting, forced motherhood would hinder a woman's access to the workplace and equal opportunities, it's also focused on the consequences of parenting and the obligations of motherhood that flow from pregnancy, said Barrett. Why don't the safe haven laws take care of that problem? It seems to me the choice more focused would be family, say the ability to get an abortion at 23 weeks, or the state requiring the woman to go 15, 16 weeks more and then terminate parental rights at the conclusion, she said. Why? Why didn't you address the safe haven laws, and why don't they matter? Reichelman responded by pointing out the unique risk that pregnancy alone carries, saying in court, "We don't just focus on the burdens of parenting, and neither did Roe and Casey. Instead, pregnancy itself is unique. It imposes unique physical demands and risks on women, and in fact, has impact on all of their lives, on their ability to care for other children, other family members, and on their ability to work." It is a point echoed by reproductive physicians who say talking about adoption in place of abortion misses the realities of people's lives and the dangers of pregnancy. If the court were to uphold the Mississippi ban, as the conservative majority appeared headed towards, legal scholars say it could clear the way for stringent new restrictions on abortion in roughly half the country. It seems they're toning down the rhetoric on this too. You know, last week when we talked about this, it was, well, if Roe versus Wade gets overturned, 20 states are going to outlaw abortion outright and chain their women to stoves. And now it's back to stringent new restrictions. Look, like I said, there will probably be 3 to 5 states that outlaw it outright. I would say you would probably get your 20 number if there were restrictions up to 24 weeks. And maybe 15 of them would be 15 weeks. maybe 10. And on the other side of it, California and New York will allow you to do that as the baby's crowning and probably after if you're in Virginia. But, I mean, Coney Barrett is right. There are people out there. There are waiting lists for infants to adopt. There are massive, long waiting lists for infants to adopt. I know that it's harder to adopt the children who are older. I understand that. I get that. There are children in the foster care system that can't be adopted because they've had troubles in the past, and it's very hard to find a good match parent who will both care for that child, make them a productive member of society, and not abuse that child once you get to older. But there are waiting lists, outright waiting lists for infant adoptions. But that's what we're seeing coming out of the Supreme Court right now. Some Oxford news. Michigan authorities execute search warrant at the home of the man accused of helping the alleged school gunman's parents. From Travis Caldwell, Artemis Mashdajian, Ralph Ellis, and Amir Vera. Holy shit, we still got a bunch to do, and it's already 8:50. Authorities executed a search warrant Monday at the home of the man who helped Ethan Crumbley's parents before they were arrested. Oakland County Undersheriff Michael G. McCabe told CNN. Andrzej Sikora and his attorney Clarence Das voluntarily went to the Oakland County Sheriff's Office where Sikora was interviewed for about 2 hours on Monday, according to news release from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Sikora fully cooperated and answered all of law enforcement's questions. Mr. Sikora did not assist the Crumbleys in evading law enforcement, did not know there was a warrant for their arrest, and did not know they were at his art studio at the time of their arrest. Das said in a statement, he has not been charged with any crime and will continue to assist members of law enforcement in their pursuit of justice. Sikora, a Metro Detroit artist, was questioned extensively to determine if he assisted hiding James and Jennifer Crumbley, the release said. The issue for detectives is what did Sikora know and when did he know it, the release said, adding the search warrant on Sikora's home was executed immediately after questioning. I don't know if he knew or not. He might have known, actually, because this did make a fairly major headline, especially if it was local. It was to Detroit. I'm sure that every news outlet and every local station and every local television was fixated on Oakland at the time. So I'm sure he knew what was going on here. As far as trying to help them, I don't know. I don't know if he knew anything in advance. I don't know what they're expecting to find off of this, but they're looking for something. So I'm sure in the next couple days we'll find out whether or not they found what they were looking for, or they'll ignore it entirely. Here's one from NBC. Colorado Sheriff's Office slammed for post of Santa getting concealed handgun permit. From Marlene Lenthang. A Colorado Sheriff's Office has apologized for posting an insensitive image of Santa Claus getting a concealed handgun permit just days after the Michigan shooting that left 4 dead. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office, based in Colorado Springs, tweeted an image Friday of a man who appeared to be Santa, with white hair, a white beard, and red overalls at the sheriff's office with the caption, "Guess who came in today to receive his concealed handgun permit today?" The caption included the statistic that the sheriff's office has issued 49,750 concealed handgun permits and another 2,560 are waiting to be issued. Good. Good on them. There it is. There's Santa getting his concealed carry permit. But the message didn't sit well with the public, especially in the wake of the Oxford school shooting. One Twitter user condemned the post, saying, "I'm sitting here in downtown Oxford waiting for the candlelight vigil to start to pay tribute to 4 students who were murdered by a handgun smuggled into a school. But by all means, tell kids Santa carries a concealed weapon," the user wrote. Another questioned the motivation for the post, asking, "What is your message to children here?" Santa has a legally concealed weapon for protection against elves, reindeer, children who take a peek on Christmas Eve. There's enough anxiety among children already, the user wrote. "The families of kids slaughtered in Oxford would like a word. My daughter, whose best friend is fighting for his life due to a self-inflicted gunshot wound, would like one as well," another Twitter user wrote. "This is the reason this keeps happening." Okay, you're taking this too far. I admit this was in bad taste. But you're taking this way too far. Yeah, so that dude's got to hit Chicago. I'd carry two. From the Associated Press, a little bit of news out of my neck of the woods. Wisconsin mayors targeted amid GOP-ordered election probe. From Scott Bauer and Todd Richmond. Beto voice. The Republican hired attorney investigating the 2020 election told Wisconsin lawmakers during a testy hearing on Wednesday he has filed a lawsuit to force officials in Green Bay and Madison to provide testimony. Meanwhile, the State's Embattled Elections Commission approved a series of recommendations to made in a recent nonpartisan audit, while also pushing back against the report saying it was rife with mistakes and led people to wrongly conclude elections were poorly managed. Those are either complete gross incompetence or an attempt to intentionally sabotage the work of the commission, Democratic Commissioner Ann Jacobs said of the audit. The simultaneous meetings come as Republicans in Wisconsin are increasing the pressure on election officials. Lawmakers have called for the resignation of the state's nonpartisan top election administrator, and a sheriff who supports Trump called for the prosecuting of 5 of the commission's 6 members. President Biden beat Trump by nearly 21,000 votes, an outcome that has withstood recounts and lawsuits. False claims of widespread fraud have not been proven, with just 5 people out of more than 3 million who cast ballots in the 2020 charged with election fraud. The former conservative Wisconsin Supreme Court justice, hired by Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos to investigate the election, testified before a GOP-controlled Assembly Elections Committee. Michael Gableman said he's trying to determine whether government officials in Wisconsin's 5 largest cities used grant funds by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg to support Biden. Gableman said he filed lawsuits Monday seeking to force Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich and Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway to submit depositions because they have simply failed, without reason, to excuse or appear. Online court records did not list the lawsuits. Madison City Attorney Michael Haas said he hasn't heard anything about such a lawsuit. Rhodes Conway issued a statement saying Gableman's investigation is really just a temper tantrum by people who didn't like the election results. You know, like they did for all of 2017. Gableman pushed back. Ahmad Rivera Wagner, Genrich's chief of staff, issued a statement saying the city has already provided Gableman with almost 20,000 pages of records and no one has heard anything about this lawsuit. Gableman pushed back against Democrats' criticisms that the probe has been too secretive. For the first time, he named nearly everyone working for him and their salaries. That included Ron Hoyer, president of the Wisconsin Voters Alliance, which brought 2 failed lawsuits seeking to overturn the presidential election results. Lawyer Andrew Kloster, a former Trump administration official who stated the election was stolen, and 2 retired Milwaukee police detectives. Gableman said so far he spent about $175,000 of the $675,000 in taxpayer funds that Assembly Republicans authorized for the investigation in August. He also promised to publicly release documents by Friday that won't compromise the investigation. It's an interesting dichotomy coming out of Wisconsin because, really honestly, for the statewide races, like the senators, like for the governor, and like for the presidency, Madison and Milwaukee pick the people who run the statewide races. That's how it's always been. But because of the layout, because of the population density and distribution, our assembly is almost always conservative. Farm folk. Down-home country farm folk. There's very, very little representation of the Democrat side in the assembly and the state senate. So it's an interesting dichotomy to see, and I know that with Tony Evers in office, there's no way to de-honk the election. So it's just probably going to be honk-honked again because they've got to make it by a state law, and they can't do that because Evers will veto it. And I don't know if they have a veto-proof majority in the assembly or not. That'd be kind of cool if they did. But it is time to stop investigating what happened here, because no matter how many investigations you do, unless it is the basis for making a new law, no matter how many investigations you do, no matter how many fraudulent votes you find, even though there were none, and this was the safest and most secure election in history, and Joe Biden definitely got more votes than Barack Obama, in spite of all of that, you're never going to overturn the election. As soon as the House Plant Chief put his hand on the Bible and said, I promise to uphold the thing, man, and to the best of my ability and such, he was the president. There was nothing else to do. All right. What else can we get done with? I think we're going to cut it there. I think we're going to do Twitter trending and cut it there. Just because I do have work to do as well and to get out. And we still have a lot of stuff. So let's get the trending tab up here and let's see what's trending on Twitter today. All right, on your trending. Number 1 trending today, Ranboo Space. Content creator Ranboo engages with fans on Spaces. I've never used Spaces. I can't be bothered to finish this one, but it's a weird bathroom, huh? Ranboo fan art, Ranboo Space. Ranboo, please consider using this for your December PFP, please. I don't know who Ranboo is. Can you agree that Freddy and AMC look like characters in Disney Channel original movies? Kind of. So, I don't know who Ranboo Space is. I don't know who Ranboo is, but apparently he did a Twitter space and now people are all talking about it. Behind sunglasses and a mask. No idea. But apparently that happened. I've never used Spaces. I hear they're incredibly racist against white people. I hear they say things like Mayo Monkey and stuff like that. Number 2 trending, Mac Jones. 2015 Mac Jones would not believe what 2021 Mac Jones is playing in tonight. Mac Jones in 2015 says, I've never seen snow. Mac Jones and Damien Harris are just really out there living their best lives. Trying to have a friendship like Damien Harris and Mac Jones. Mac Jones warming up as the snow swirls. Final stat line for winning quarterback Mac Jones, 2 for 3 for 19 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions with 4 rushes for 1 yard. Brilliant. Peyton Manning says he called Mac Jones this week so he can prepare for tonight's telecast. Jones said he needed Peyton to get permission from PR before he talks. Peyton called and they denied his request. First quarterback I haven't talked to. So apparently this is the new New England guy. I don't know if he's got a lot of big shoes to fill to go be as good as Tom Brady was. And Tom Brady, for as much as I was always a Packer fan in football, Tom Brady was a very talented quarterback. New England was spoiled for many, many years with Tom Brady. They were very spoiled for many years with Tom Brady. And as much as I have friends who are still New England Patriots fans, because I still have friends that live out there, I do hope that this Mac Jones does very well for them. I hope that he carries them to at least 1 Super Bowl. I don't know if he'll get 6 like Brady did, but Godspeed if he does. I don't really pay attention to football anymore, so that's the thing. They went woke and they lost me as a customer. And then they did this whole weird thing with the COVID thing and the Aaron Rodgers thing and him trying to be the heel, and I don't have time for that. I don't care that much. But congratulations as well to Mac Jones for his start. Next one, board spaces. This is what's going to happen when all our phones keep talking about these theories by #board spaces. Anta Chanaya's camp counselor era board spaces. #board spaces, bitches be like. We all fuck the same, I can't use that word, and used to beef. I finished a paper, watched YouTube videos, now I'm halfway through a movie and y'all are still going. Oh my god, board spaces. Yeah, how are these spaces, by the way? I've done Clubhouse, so I kind of understand the concept. I have Clubhouse on my phone again. I've done that kind of stuff, but for those of you on Twitter, have you used spaces? Is it worth it? Is it worth the headache and everything that goes with this? Am I going to get called a Mayo monkey? Am I going to be able to speak? What goes on with this? Tell me about this. Tell me about Spaces. Blitz essay saw BTS and Megan Thee Stallion live, says, don't get sarcastic with me and delete your reply, you nasty anti-black bitch. Blitz says, this is clearly a setup account, y'all better not fall for this shit. Amazing detective skills, Blitz. Yeah, I don't know anything about this. Number 4, Belichick. Probably going on with Mac Miller. I'm starting to think that maybe Bill Belichick had something to do with the Patriots' success from 2001 to 2019. Grant Paulson says, remember when everyone pretended like Belichick was a Brady creation because New England stepped back without a quarterback and amid a slew of COVID opt-outs last year? The Patriots are 9-4 and the number 1 team in the AFC. That doesn't surprise me. They have a lot of Kraft money behind them. They really let Bill Belichick draft this man, shaking my head. Bill Belichick, sitting in his office late last night, finished with film and ready to go home. A transcript slides across his desk. He reads. Minutes later, he grins, leans back, bunches his fingers on his right hand, and raises them to his mouth. He's perfect. Patriots quarterback Mac Jones press conference. On if he likes pie. MJ. No, I just don't like it. Yeah, simple as that. On if he sticks to chocolate for dessert on Thanksgiving. MJ. Yeah. On if he likes macaroni and cheese. Made by Kraft. I mean, it's food, but I don't really want to focus on that right now. On if he wore a scuba suit today for practice. MJ. No scuba suit. No. On how he decides what to wear to play. Asking Brian Hoyer a lot of questions, really. Just that, and then, I can't wear too much, but you also don't want to wear too little. By the end of the day, it's just a mental thing. You got to just battle through it and take each experience and see what you can do better. If you think you're too cold, put on more, and vice versa. If today was the coldest day, he has thrown in football. MJ says no. That's weird. But once again, congratulations on the success of the New England Patriots. Post Brady. All right. Last one. Dragula. Dig through the ditches and burn through the witches. Here, vouching as a clown, I fucking love her. Dragula, the Coco Kane. Top 4 is legendary Dragula. Can we just take a moment to appreciate these 4? I fucking love them so much. Dragula. I don't know what this is, and I don't really want to know. Looks like something to do with goth and drag queens. Is the way that I'm figuring this out. That's what I'm seeing out of this. That's what we have. Those are your top 5 Twitter trends for the day. We didn't have any Tuesday thoughts or Tuesday inspiration we had to skip, so that was cool. But I think it's time for us to head out of here for the day. So let's get everything flipped over, ready to go, and ready to see. I'm only on 3 platforms on this. I wonder what got cut off. Let's go have a look. Just make sure everything is up and still streaming. Or over on the Twitch side, we're still streaming on YouTube. Still streaming on DLive. I don't know. I don't know what happened here. I guess we'll figure out at some other point here. But we got to head out of here for the day. Ooh, that's loud. So, thanks everybody who came by and chatted and discussed things with us in the live chat here. It was a great stream. It was a long stream, of course, but we got through quite a bit. We'll get through some more of this coming up tomorrow because there are some important things that are still in the stack to come back and talk about, including an article from a friend of the show, Caleb Schumante. And if I do see his name in the blaze, I do tend to pick him as well. So we'll be paying attention to that. Of course, it does have to be relevant to the main news topics of the day here, but definitely come back and check us out here tomorrow for more Contemporary. We'll be back here 7:15 a.m. Central Time to go discuss the news and the headlines and not interact with the chat because that pisses the Twitch people off. But with that, we're going to head out of here for the day. And if you're on Twitch, if you're still over there, stick around. We're going to go over and raid my friend Stephen Ignoramus. We'll go see him over there. And we will see you next time over here on Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.